Hi everyone and welcome to this new video. My name is Susanne and today I want to make the November setup together with you in my journal. And for that I want to use my gel plate. It's this little one. I have a round one, but you also have them in different sizes and shapes. I have this one laying around already for quite a while, I think a year or something, and I also use it already quite often. But last week I visited a Dutch fair and yeah, there I came across a new technique and I'm so enthusiastic that I wanted to try it out straight away. And since then I'm every day using my gel plate and trying out new things. And I thought it would be nice to show it to you too. So that we are going to do today. But before we do that, I wanted to ask if you like my video, please give them a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you didn't do it yet. And you can also hit the bell notification and then you get a notification for any time I post a new video online and then you miss nothing of my videos. So let's start watching the November setup using this gel plate and I wish you happy watching! So I have my stuff here laying around already. I put first my glass media mat. This is the travel size from Tim Holtz. And I have of course my gel plate. This one is from Gel Press, just a round one you can use from any brand of course. Acrylic block to put the gel plate on. I have a brayer. I chose a small one because it's handy with a small gel plate. I have some paper where I want to make the design on and also a paper to use as scrap to clean my brayer and everything. And further I have a container of water or a cup of water and a small fan brush. Mine is from Da Vinci, but you can use any fan brush you like. And of course we also need inks, otherwise we don't have colors. And I want to use today Speckled egg, peacock feathers, blueprint sketch and ground espresso. So these we are going to work with. I always keep my gel plate in the package because it's a sensitive thing. It has a good memory, so anything that you put on it or sticks to it, it stays there. So you can easily damage your gel plate. So don't throw away your package because you really need to keep it. And I also always keep these acetate sheets to keep it between. And I just stick it to my acrylic block. You see my gel plate is also a bit dirty. I use it already quite often and some inks just leave a stain on it. But yeah, it still works fine. So it doesn't do anything, it doesn't make it bad. It only makes it discolored. Okay, let's start. I first pick my speckled egg. And I just go with my brayer over the speckled egg just on the pad itself till you have some ink on your brayer, and then you bring it to the gel plate. You just give like no pressure, you just roll it over, take a little bit more ink. And the thing is, you hardly see the ink, but there is quite a lot of ink on it. You also see it from the brayer, there's also ink on it. The nice thing is you can put it on these little legs. And then I take my fan brush, I dip it in the water. And I take off the first drops. Because I want to create small drops of water. And then I just flick the water. Just small droplets on my gel plate. Like this. If you do it right away from the water, then you create like large drops. You see it, like this was my first splash. They're larger than the last ones. So like this. And then I put it on my paper. I do it in the under so I can use also the upper side for another background if I want. And I just lay it on the paper. You can press it a little. And then it's always a surprise what the result will be. So you see here the first print. And you see here there are now droplets on it. So I don't want my gel plate to be too wet. So what you do then is I just do it on my scrap paper and I clean it like this. Just do it a few times and then it's clean and ready for the next color. And my brayer, you just can easily clean it just like this. And then it just takes the color off. And you see there's some color on still, but yeah, it doesn't matter. As long as it doesn't give any color to the paper anymore, it's fine. Then we go to the next color and I want to take the peacock feathers. And I see this ink pad is much wetter. The speckled egg I use quite a lot. And what I do then is I just roll the first one a little bit like this. And then I go to my gel plate. And with this I go only to the outsides. Like this. And the middle I leave empty. And I try to divide the ink as good as possible. Go a bit like in the middle and a bit like this. So it's a bit like painting the wall, honestly. So. And I just clean my brayer. And what I do next is I have a little piece of tissue paper. And as you can see, I hope you can see it, the lines are quite harsh right now. That's not nice. So what I do is I just dab the edges and make it a bit more soft. So there are not too harsh lines. Just like this. And then you see there are no harsh lines anymore. I hope you can see it from the camera. Otherwise you should try it yourself. It's really fun anyway, so you should try it. And then I take my fan brush again. I flicked it first in the water and then I just make little droplets here. Something like this. You just do it like how you feel. You can use as many droplets as you want. You can also use little. Everything is fine. And then you put this over what you made before. It's always a bit like measuring. And just press it really lightly and take it off. And I clean my gel press again. So it's clean. This one I cleaned already, yes. Look how beautiful. It's so funny. And then you see like in the middle it's still light from the speckled egg and the outside is darker. And then we go to the next ink and that is the blueprint sketch. And I go again with my brayer. This one also takes a lot of ink. And I also do like this. I actually also came across like the inks from Lavinia. I saw it at the Credo fair in Netherlands. But then I started looking it up and I came across Lavinia and I think she's inspired by that one. And they have their own inks and they are also dye-based ink like the Distress inks, but really highly pigmented. And I'm really curious to that one. So I don't have them yet, but maybe I'll purchase a few to try them out. Then I can also show it to you if it's like, if you like the gel plate, if it's like an addition to your stash, or if you can just leave it. But at least it seemed promising. I go again, take this one, I clean the edge again. Like this. And then I flick some water again. I didn't wet my brush any further. I just use what's on it. But that's not a good idea. I just make it a little bit wetter. Oh, now I have a super large drops. Anyway, it's just wabi-sabi, right? It's a Japanese saying for just imperfection is also fine. But I just clean off the largest drops. I just take it like this. Yes. Okay. And I put it over my paper again. For the ones who know me longer, they know I just like to try out things. I don't mind taking risks. Like, if it doesn't work out, I just start over again. But it worked out really fine, I think. Look how beautiful. Like, if you make the smaller drops, you see that are really, yeah, the teeny tiny drops. I find this effect with the gel plate so interesting. It's really nice. So I clean off this again with stamping it through the paper. And I clean this, of course. So. And then I take the last color already, and that is the ground espresso. And I just add it to my brayer again. I don't need that much actually, it's only for the borders. Anyway. It's like when you're talking and doing things in the same time, you just do sometimes things without thinking too much. I just do it to the edge. It's really the outer edge. I don't want to go too far in. It's more to give like a shade. It's actually funny, like my last November setup was also with all blue colors, and now again I'm using blue colors. Maybe it's something about November that's a bit reminding me a bit of winter, almost Christmas. Though still the autumn is in is there. Although in Netherlands, like last week, it was just like 17, 18 degrees. I just wear my summer jacket and thin clothes. It's really strange, the weather. I mean, it's also end of October. Yeah, now it's November already. But then it was end of October. So I smoothed out the edges again, and then I take some water again and I flick off the first drops in my cup, and I just do it really light. It doesn't matter if it also ends in the middle, because it also gives like that water effect with the ink that's already on the paper. So, like this. I want to create small droplets because I think the effect of the small droplets are also really, really beautiful. Like here you see it. You may not see it when it's laying down, but yeah, there are all like little droplets around. If you hear some noise in the background, the cats are playing and they're running after each other. And I add the last one. I don't want to press this too much because I want to leave the droplets as a whole. I don't want to spread them out too much. That happens if you press the plate, the water spreads out, of course. And then, yeah, they don't stay like nice round. Like here you may see it. Like there are still round droplets. Sometimes it helps just to leave it a little and let the gel plate really make contact with the paper. And then take it off. And look at that, how gorgeous. The cats are now meowing. I don't know if you hear it. Look how gorgeous. I really love this effect. So what I really like about this, it gives like such a mesmerizing effect, but it's actually not that hard to create, as you see. You just add a few layers, you just stamp it, and that's it. Add a few flicks of water. It's really easy to do. It's really... To clean this and the brayer, what I do is I take baby wipes. I have these ones. And with the baby wipe I just go over the plate and take off the residue. Because Distress Oxide, it has some, yeah, how do you say it? It feels like there's a powder kind of thing in it. And it leaves like a residue on your gel plate. So yeah, I always like to take it off. And it's really easy with the baby wipe. And also the brayer, you can just clean it off with a baby wipe. And then you're free for your next creation. Like this. And all is clean already. With this brayer, this one is from Ranger. You also have like, this one is the red one. You also have black ones. They're the same as I understood. You can also take this off, wash it out under the water, and yeah, that's also possible. So that's it. Everything's clean. As I told you, I use paper from the Traveler's Notebook insert, I have to say. I have one insert that I sacrifice for these kind of things because I like the yellow paper. It's the same color as the paper in my journal, so sometimes I like to make stamps on it, and they're also not that expensive. It's I think €4.50 and it has I think a lot of pages. I don't know it by heart. You see, if you would do it directly in your notebook, it's possible it only gives like wrinkles. So next off, I want to use this stamp. It is from Lavinia. I think it's super adorable. I saw this at the Creado fair and yeah, I just instantly fell in love with it. I'm just also a bit like sucker for these kind of whimsical things. So I want to make a stamp impression with it. I'm going to do it on this page also. I want to make here a bit like my embellishments for in my journal spread later on. I will take my acrylic block again and stick the stamp to it. This is just a clear stamp. And I have the Shachihata ink, which is also waterproof. You also have, of course, like archival ink from Ranger and also VersaFine ink, which is all fine. And what I do is I just stamp in the image. I think this is always so satisfying when you use a clear stamp for the first time. It looks always so beautiful. And then I stamp it to the paper. I just do it a bit here, so on the right side I still have some space left if necessary. Look how gorgeous. I always clean it immediately with some baby wipe, then it's most easy to clean. Next up I have this Krimgen stamp. I thought it was so adorable with that little girl. I thought it's like a perfect little fairy that fits there. And I will add it to the little boat. And for stamping this little girl, I put a little paper over the already stamped image so it doesn't go over each other. And then it looks like the girl is in the boat. What I also like to do is add an extra over here, because this, if I do it there, I can't paint it in anymore. And like that, then all these leaves and foliages, they are just here and I don't need to cut them out. So like that fine details you can't cut, of course. Or you can maybe, but yeah, it's really hard. Like this time I also put my rubber mat under it. I bought this one at Café Analog in the Netherlands. because it helps you with stamping to give like a more clear impression. What I will do next is I will coloring in this boat, and I want to do it with Distress ink. And I want to use some browns for the boats, some greens for the foliage also, and I go with some red colors. I will start off with the browns, and I think I will use tea dye as the light color. And what will I use more? I think I go with Vintage Photo and maybe some Rusty Hinge. And maybe some ground espresso for the darker parts. What is so handy about this glass media mat is you just take your ink, do it like this, and then you can paint. This is so nice. I really love doing this also. I haven't done it for maybe 3/4 of a year, or maybe 1 year even. It's just funny how it works, that once you remind it and you start loving it again. And what I like to use to paint with is my Derwent water brush. You can use basically any water brush. I also dip it a bit in the water to activate it a little. And yeah, this ink is wet already, so it's ready to paint. And I just pick up a little ink. I just make it a little more diluted. And I just start in the lighter parts. And I'll work my way through. Maybe I zoom in a little for you, then you can see what I'm doing. Like this. You only can see that I pick my paint, but this is tea dye still. You see, you need to have a little bit patience with it and really build up the color. And yeah, what I always do is where you want your shade, there I add the most color. So you can imagine if there's a button on the boat, you can imagine it gives some kind of shade. So that part is darker and this part is lighter, for example. And then you give like a bit more depth in your paintings. Maybe you know painting already, then you can just skip this information. I also like to explain to people who maybe are not really familiar with painting yet. And I think this is really a nice way to try out. And coloring stamps is of course also an easy way to start with starting to color. Then you have the image already. Then you don't need to worry about creating an image. And I just also really create a shade. Okay. Now I go into my darker color. I want to do a little Rusty Hinge. And I want to give like a little hue over it. Because I think the Rusty Hinge is a bit like more of a warmer color. I just add some little details. And that's how I build up. I start with the light color and I keep adding darker colors until I'm happy. And then I take as last a bit Vintage Photo mixed with a little ground espresso. I take a bit like Vintage Photo mixed with a little ground espresso to make it a little darker. And I will add it to the edges. You see, as it's wet already a bit, it also draws the paint further. I don't know if you can see it. I just keep zooming in. I just add a little. I will show you. I just really, I just tap and tap here, and this is how little ink you take on your brush, because it's a dark color, you don't want to overdo it. And see, it really picks up the color and it draws it back because it's still wet. And that's the nice thing about watercolor or like this kind of thing, it just spreads out so nicely. Under is of course very dark, so I add there more color like this. Cleaning the brush is really easy. You have some tissue paper, you just clean it and it's clean. Okay, then onto the next color. I am going to use green for this one. The brown I'm done with, so I will wipe it off. I have my tissue paper. It's fine, yeah. And I just spritz with my water spritzer, and I just take it off like this. It's really easy. Then I continue with the greens. I want to coloring these little leaves and also give some color to these leaves. And I will use shabby shutters and I think bundled sage and rustic wilderness. I'll first use the shabby shutters. Bundled sage I'm not 100% sure if I will use. I will pick also the forest moss. That's also nice if you put it here, you see how the colors are and then you can decide, okay, that I want to use or I need another color, or yeah, it's a bit more easy to see than on the lid of the box sometimes. Okay, I will start again with the lightest color, and that's the shabby shutters. And I'll first go through all the leaves and give it some color, like this. And I decided to try to also bring some green to here, because the leaves are stamped on the lighter part of the blue, and yeah, you see some green shading. Okay, this one is dried. You see it's also a bit like a yellowish undertone. With this one I also add some bundled sage combined with mowed lawn. In my opinion, the shabby shutters, I thought it would be nice, but it's really got a bit like blend on the paper. So rustic wilderness and bundled sage it is. Okay, then I take a little forest moss to give a bit of shade. And you see, I didn't stamp here, but if you do it like this, you don't really notice. It just blends in with the color. I'll also add a bit up here to give it more depth. Okay, this one I don't paint because I'm going to use this. I only will cut out the flower and the boat, and I will paste it over here, and yeah, then it should be fine. And we're off to the pinkish and reddish. Like this one. I will use Victorian Velvet. It's quite dark color, although it looks really light on the cap. I take Aged Mahogany and I think Festive Berries. I want to be a bit more in the pink tones. And yeah, Spun Sugar is super light. Maybe some Kitsch from Flamingo. And for the face I need also some Tattered Rose. This one I also take. Tattered Rose for the face. Okay, I'll first start off with the face and the arms. I picked Tattered Rose and I will just do the face. And the arms. That's it. Sometimes it doesn't need to be too much. A bit more in the cheeks. So it looks a bit like she has rosy cheeks. And I think the shirt I will do it like a little purple. I thought first of pink, but I decided to do purple. Because it's a bit more like a muted color. No, I think this is good enough. Okay, then last, the strawberries. Yeah, they're red of course, so I just go for the... What was it again? Festive Berries. So, that's it. Okay, I will clean this up and I will pick my journal and then we are going to make the journal spread together. Okay, so here's my journal. And I want to use my A5 journal. I was working for a while in my traveler's notebook for our home renovation, of course. And I'm still using it because I'm still way behind with my home renovation spreads, but I thought it would be nice to make a November setup in this one. And I first want to use a stencil. This one is also from Lavinia. I will also name all the things that I use in the description below this video, of course, as I always do. And first I will protect my underlayer with some scrap paper. And I line it up a bit like how I want it, and I stick it with some washi so it doesn't move while I'm working on it. And I was thinking I really wanted to use the stencil, but I wasn't really sure how. If I want to do all the page or... But I decided I want to do a bit like the outside part only. So I do the under and the upper with washi tape. Like this. So it sticks a bit to the page. It prevents it from moving around. I will take my Speckled Egg. I really... Of all my Distress colors, I think Speckled Egg and Pumice Stones are the ones I use far of the most. And I have this brush that I like to use. You can also use a blending brush, of course. It's whatever you want. I just lately like using this brush. I don't know why. Sometimes it just randomly changes. And I start a bit on the stencil and work my way out. And I use the Oxide because I want to use that soft chalky effect which the Oxide gives. It looks a bit splotchy, but that's also what I want. I don't want it to be super clean and neat and like one same color. Next to the Speckled Egg I also use the Stormy Sky, which is a bit more of a greyish blue. I always like to use multiple colors of Distress together to give it a little bit more depth and playfulness. I go really light, just randomly a bit like this over the page. You see at some places it gets a bit darker, and then I just work it out and blend it in. But I definitely don't want it to be everywhere. It gives a bit of that cloudy feeling. I want to give it like the impression of like a moonlight night in the forest, a bit that feeling. That whimsical romantic idea. Okay, I think this is it. This is also always a bit kind of a surprise if you have the stencil on and when you take it off. So let's take it off. You can always go back if you're not happy with the result. Look, how nice. Yeah, I think this is perfect. So I will cut these out. So I just cut out only the part that you need, and the rest of all the foliage you stamped it there already. And I really like to take my time for this and cut out all the little details also from this girl. I'll stick it to the page first, because this I definitely want to keep like this. This boat, and really make sure you do the edges well, because you don't want to curve it over. So like this. And you just put it exactly where the other boat is. I know it's so much work. I really like it. Like this. Then we also stick this one. You also see it's really bleeding through, so you really shouldn't paint like this darkly in, at least in this journal. I used the paper 24 before, then it goes really fine. I'll just put this on the paper for sure. Then it really doesn't matter, but with this paper it is more sensitive. You also see it gets like wrinkly, and yeah, some things are possible, but not everything in this journal. But I really like the color still. And I just put this one in the middle. Up next, I want to use a little Coliro watercolor. It is like super beautiful gold paint. And I want to make like a little circle of gold paint. I still have here the water. I know this looks like quite a large brush, but the tip is so fine. I really like using it. And what I do now is I paint a little border or a small border along the edge of that circle, so it gives a bit more of a defined look and a bit more of a sparkly moonlight feeling. And I also color in that flower. Can also add a little wrinkles, a bit like here, to the water. Looks like a little bit more like the boat is in the water. Stars. Add random drops. And now I make with my white gel pen, this one is from Uniball, some white specks in the sky. I thought it gives more like of a playful feeling. Like maybe there are some stars or some small fireflies with that feeling. And I also create a bit water with just drawing some lines. Then I take my woven stamp from Jesslynn Padilla and I have the most gorgeous gold stamp pad. And I just use gold ink. Look how beautiful. I would love this. I'll keep it actually here. And I leave some foliage. Okay, and then as last I'll write a quote and of course the name of the month, November in this case. And I use 2 of my Esterbrook pens. And this one is inked up with Caramel Sparkle from Diamine. It's a beautifully caramelly color with some sparkles inside, so some shimmer. I really love this color for autumn and also actually for the holidays, which are nearing. And I first write the word November and then after I make some lines more thick so it looks more like calligraphy. And you see me sometimes writing on another paper. The downside of sparkling ink or ink with shimmer inside is that your pen can get a bit clogged from it. So yeah, sometimes it stops writing, but yeah, I love it so much that I don't mind it. And this pen is inked up with Adventurine from Ferris Press, which is also a really beautiful color. And I thought this quote was really matching with the page. Like those who don't believe in magic will never find it. And with this we came to the end of making this spread. It was packed with different techniques which I really like to show you. I also decided to shoot my video a bit different this time. I decided to craft and talk in the same time. I'm really curious what you thought of it, or if you prefer me first doing editing and then voiceover after. I really like to hear in the comments what you prefer or what you think of it. I want to thank you for watching and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye!